The last few months have felt like a turning point for Calgary buyers and sellers. After a long run where demand outpaced supply, we're now seeing the benchmark prices ease and sales slow while more homes sit on the market. Krebs November numbers show the residential benchmark price slipping and apartment and row homes falling the most, which is changing the conversation from how fast can we sell to how can we price this property correctly to ensure that it will sell. That downward pressure is coming in large part from an oversupply in the condo market. Inventory has risen and months of supply are higher in many areas, giving buyers more choice and weakening sellers' ability to command the market as they have in recent years. Finally, this is not the same across every neighborhood and property type, and that nuance matters for buyers or sellers watching this video. Detached homes have held up better, while apartments and townhouses have seen the biggest year-over-year declines, so seller strategies need to be specific. Realistic pricing, clear marketing, and patience is going to be key for sellers to ensure that their properties sell in a timely fashion and at the highest price possible. So let's walk through the numbers so that you guys can make smart decisions this winter. So here's how things shaped up in November overall. The benchmark price for the typical Calgary home came in at $559,000, which is down 4.6% year over year, with days on market sitting at around 49 days to sell the average Calgary home. In November, we saw 1,553 total sales, which is down 13% from this time last year. Inventory is sitting at 5,581 active listings, giving us around 3.59 months of total supply. So solidly in a buyer's market overall. With the benchmark prices down 4.6% year over year, we're seeing the first real downward pressure on prices after several strong seasons of growth. The pace has cooled, and instead of the strong competitive environment that we've seen in recent years, we're moving into something more balanced but noticeably slower moving. Homes are now taking an average of just under 50 days to sell, which is giving buyers more breathing room and forcing sellers to be more strategic with pricing and presentation. Sales also tell the story. November wrapped up with a 13% drop overall compared to last year. At the same time, inventory has climbed to nearly 5,600 active listings. That combination of fewer sales and rising inventory is what's putting downward pressure on prices. Buyers now have more options and sellers are no longer in the driver's seat. So for sellers, it's more important than ever to understand exactly where your property sits relative to your neighborhood and property type. It's going to be a very different experience for someone selling a northeast condo to somebody selling a detached property in the southwest. So let's break down how each property type shakes out. The detached benchmark home price is currently sitting at around $733,000, which is down 2.1% year over year. The average days on market are currently sitting at 45 days. And in November, there were 523 detached home sales, which is down 5% year over year. New listings in this segment came in at 1,075, putting the months of supply just under 3 months. So right now in Calgary, detached homes are holding up much better than a lot of other property types, even though things are cooling citywide. With the benchmark home price down only around 2% for detached properties, they're holding their value pretty well. And with the current months of supply sitting at around 3 months to sell a detached property, that puts this segment in what many would call balanced market territory with a slight bias towards buyers. So it's not a major slump, but it is no longer a hot seller's market either. For buyers, this means more choice and less pressure. And for sellers, it means you need to be realistic with your pricing and make sure that your property stands out. The semi-detached benchmark home price came in at around $671,000, which is down 0.5% year over year. The average days on market in this segment are sitting at around 46 days to sell a semi-detached property. And in November, we had 166 semi-detached sales, which is down 3% from this time last year. New listings came in at 225, which gives us a month's of supply around 3.3. So semi-detached homes in Calgary are finally starting to show some softness compared with a few months ago, but remain among the most stable segments of the market. The benchmark price for semi-detached properties is only down 0.5% year over year, which is definitely modest compared to the steeper declines that we've seen in higher density housing. Homes are selling in about 46 days, which suggests neither a frantic seller's market nor a deep buyer's market, but suggests a more balanced and steady pace. The months of supply number at 3.3 tells us that buyers definitely now have more choices than they did in the hotter sellers market of years past. However, semi-detached properties are still doing well in relatively balanced market conditions. Now for the rough stuff. The row house benchmark price is currently sitting at $424,000, which is down 6.2% year over year. Average days on market for row housing is currently sitting at 53 days. And in November, there were 257 row home sales, which is down 22% from this time last year. New listings in this segment came in at just under 400, with the current months of supply sitting around 3.5. So the row home market in Calgary is clearly under more pressure than most segments, with the exception of apartments. A 6.2% decrease in benchmark prices for row homes is significant, while the 53 days on market average is noticeably slower than semi-detached and detached properties. The decline in both sales and prices suggests that increased supply and softer demand are hitting row homes fairly hard. For buyers looking for a more affordable entry into the Calgary housing market, this does present some opportunities. But for sellers, it means that pricing and condition are going to matter more than ever if you want your home to stand out and sell. And now for the really ugly stuff, the apartment segment. The apartment benchmark price in Calgary is currently sitting at $309,000, which is down 7.2% year over year, while the average days on market for the apartment segment are sitting at 59 days. Apartment sales in Calgary are down 28% from this time last year, with the total sales coming in at 307. New listings in this segment came in at 555 in November, with the current months of supply sitting at 5.5, placing the apartment sector in firmly buyer's market territory. So apartments in Calgary are currently feeling the brunt of the market shift more than any other segment. With a 7.2% dip in prices year over year, we're seeing real compression of value of the apartment sector. On average, we're seeing apartments in Calgary take around 60 days to sell, which is significantly longer than the semi-detached and detached segments. And this is giving buyers a lot more time and choice before needing to act. This nearly 30% drop in sales year over year has pushed supply a lot higher, up to 5.5 months of total supply, compared with earlier this year when supply was elevated but slightly contained. And this shift indicates that apartments have weakened much more than other housing types. So for buyers, this means way more leverage, a lot more options, and the opportunity to be a lot more selective. But for sellers, this means pricing, condition, and presentation are going to be very important. If your unit is priced too high or it's in poor condition, buyers are just going to move on. So that's your Calgary market update for this month. As always, if you found this valuable, please do hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.